Welcome everybody to episode 210 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. And the NBA playoffs a series? I was told it's not a series until someone loses at home. I figured the struggle in this series has been winning at home. So we've got some series going on.
It's just been good basketball.
It's been great to watch, for sure. Not if you're Boston, though.
Yeah, even if it's not your team, I think you could just still sit down and just like watch some good hoops.
No, I like watching Boston lose. It's great.
I think the skill level's been high. I think it's like ultra competitive. I mean, the playoffs are always a lot more competitive than the regular season, but I love that sort of high energy. Michael Porter Jr. playing today with like 16 centimeters of tape wrapped around his shoulder. You know, like you just don't see that stuff in the regular season. Like I love that.
Yeah, I think that's some pretty special stuff for sure.
Anyway. Hello, Adam. I hope you're well. Hello to our friends in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Germany, and any other countries that we have missed. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, wherever in the world you are from, welcome. Welcome and thanks for tuning in.
And of course, to our friends on the interwebs, the Central Coast Radio crew. So hello. Hope you're well. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. And I think we should just get straight into it, Ad, and kick off from last week where we spoke about Coach Pop. I think just 2 weeks in a row, we're going to start off with that on the show just because we can. Just again, reiterating that he is retiring from coaching and going into the Al Jeffe role. I hope I pronounced that properly for the Spurs. He did an amazing video with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili at his side where he took off his jacket and then had the Al Jeffe t-shirt on. And if you're someone like myself who does not speak Espanol, that translates to the boss or the chief. I'm loving this older version of Pop where he has like a very wicked sense of humor, and he deserves like every moment of this. We're not going to go through all the card talk like what we did last week, but I did want to fill out more of the coaching tree because last week I think I named maybe 2 or 3, and really that doesn't do it justice. So Will Hardy, Steve Kerr, Doc Rivers, Quinn Snyder, Udoka of the Houston Rockets, Mike Brown, Budenholzer, which we spoke about last week, Taylor Jenkins. I forgot about Taylor Jenkins. Brett Brown, we mentioned. PJ Carlissimo. So this is after he got choked by Sprewell. My recollection was he was a bit sort of ostracized around the league, and then he came back into Pop's system. James Borrego, Chuck Vaughn. You forget about all these guys. Jim Boylan. Yeah. So he was the Chicago coach that put his arms around that player's neck. I think that's what I'm mostly going to remember Jim Boylan for. And then Joe Putney, which is probably one of the lesser known people, but he's still kicking around the league. I think he's like in a front office capacity now. So, all right, that's enough of that. But I still wanted to, do that justice and
just giving time to give Pop his flowers for sure.
I think we should. I mean, the guy's an absolute living legend.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so the next link here is about the playoffs. So, Ad, why don't you choose a series to talk about? I think we should talk about all 4 series today because there's been a lot going on in every series.
So much happening. So much happening. Look, let's go with. Should we start on a high note? Yeah, let's go straight. Let's go into the East.
Sure.
And let's go to the 1v4 matchup.
Sure.
That is Cleveland versus the Indiana Pacers.
All right, great. I've got a fair bit to talk about on this one, but I would love you to go first, though, because otherwise I'm just going to hog the mic. So where are you at with this?
I love watching the underdog throw haymakers in the beginning of a series like this. I think we can all say we've been absent on the Tyrese Halliburton train this year. I think he sort of dropped off radars a little bit. He made a couple of appearances, but since the Olympics, he sort of wasn't on people's radars, and this is the coming of Tyrese, I think.
I mean, I think we've spoken about Halliburton more than other media outlets have.
Agreed. But in general, I think he is gone and...
Oh, you're talking about just in the general media, not many people talk about him.
Correct.
Sure.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a fair call. Yeah.
But I think that being 2-0 up on the Cavs, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I think where we should probably go from that is that where he misses the free throw, gets his own rebound, dribbles it back out and hits that absolute dagger 3, and then does the Sam Cassell big balls dance. And I put that up as our profile picture for a couple of days, literally just to celebrate that shot. It was absolutely epic. And I loved it from the guy. And also, too, I loved it how he didn't care. Like, he knew he was going to get a fine. He's like, that was worth every bit of it.
2 up for the game. And by the way, yes, correction. Currently leading 2-1.
Correct.
They did drop that home game yesterday. But
Big Balls Dance put them up 2-0.
It did. It put them up 2-0. and I think that was, at that point, it was, maybe Indiana do have a crack at this thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they are sneaky a lot better than people give them credit, and they've been building this roster and tuning it for a while.
Yeah, they've absolutely. All right, so I got 3 points to run through with this. So the first thing is that while we have the James Harden, who is an amazing regular season player, but always seems to be a little bit flaky in the playoffs, is Tyrese Halliburton the anti-James Harden, where he's very, very good in the regular season, but actually is better in the playoffs. And I think the knock on him a couple of years ago was that he wasn't taking clutch shots or he couldn't make clutch shots. Whereas this playoffs he's already hit 2 clutch/game winning shots. So I think that's something clearly it's been on his mind, and he's put, a lot of work into that. So I think that's the first part for me. The second part is, are the Pacers just a really lucky team? Because remember last year they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if we're being honest, that was really based on injuries, misfortune to their opposition, and they've had that a little bit this year again, like with Damian Lillard being out. I don't think Giannis was like 100%. To like the peak of his ability. And then this year's the same thing, game 2, like that Cavaliers team that was gutted of 3 of their starters. And so
True.
You do have to acknowledge that, but at the same time, being healthy in the NBA is also a skill is not the right word, but you have to be healthy to go out and win games.
That's part of list management is keeping a healthy roster. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then I think the third and final thing for me about this series, which is really becoming apparent in my mind a lot, is that, and you spoke about this just a second ago with them building a team, but I think when you're building a team around Halliburton, he makes everybody better. And so, like a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about Obi Toppin. I was saying, look, I'd really like to see him be a starting 4 in this league. But then when you think about it, then he wouldn't have Halliburton setting him up. So maybe he wouldn't be as effective as maybe I'm anticipating. Yeah. And then you think about Miles Turner, Miles Turner is a fantastic player and he would be successful in other systems, but pairing him with Halliburton is an amazing 1-2 punch. Maybe that's something they need to tap into a little bit more, but at the same time too, he is really good at setting up his teammates and just making a team offense. And this might be a little bit sacrilegious because of how good Jokic is, but maybe Halliburton is in that conversation of the top 5 playmakers in the league. So you've got Jokic, you've got LeBron/Luka, then maybe is it Halliburton after that? Who else would you put in that conversation for playmakers at the moment?
Well, that's a really good question. Yeah, I think you're right. The playmaking ability is probably the standout, and that's, funnily enough, the fact that I can't put SGA in that conversation is the reason that I've got Jokic as MVP in my eyes.
Yeah, right. You don't think he playmakes enough?
No, he just scored, but I think he playmakes, but not enough. I think he's a scorer, not a playmaker.
Yeah, sure.
And that's, to me, what differentiates. But this isn't the Jokic discussion. But you're right. But this guy, to me, it's the comp of one of those, he's like that Stockton level facilitator. I think he's underrated in that skill.
Yeah.
He have a 20 assist game, or 3 20 assist games or something. Was that last season? It's a while back. But
I'll be shocked if he hasn't had.
Yeah. He's had some insane assist games, but then he's clutch scoring. I don't know. He's taken another step, but we've waited till the playoffs to see it.
Yeah.
Which is the right end of the season to be doing it, by the way, unless you don't make the playoffs.
I think for sure. I think that's definitely something for me that stood out too, is that I watched a decent amount. I wouldn't say I watched a lot of them, but I watched a decent amount of Pacers. You see, they've been always a fun team for me to watch, but I think and maybe it's just that his minutes have gone up a little bit and they're running more plays for him. Maybe that's all it is, but at the same time, I think he's definitely producing at a lot higher level.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Nikola Jokic, I think we have to talk about in terms of playmaking. I think you have to talk about Jalen Brunson.
Brunson, yeah.
SGA is actually definitely up there in terms of the assist to turnover ratio and then the assist percentage. Actually, Giannis is at 6.6 assists a game this year, which is quite high.
Okay.
What else we got here? Cade Cunningham at 8.7 assists a game.
He's probably one of the other ones in that sort of upper echelon as well. And
I think we
that's
have to acknowledge that, don't we?
Yeah.
And James Harden is at 9 assists a game, so we can't really look past him. Halliburton's at 10 assists a game. What else have we got? Yeah, I think putting him in the top 5 playmakers in the league is very reasonable. So,
without a doubt.
Now, let's talk card value, because if you look at him for the last 3 months, he's up 79%. So he was basically at 150. He's now nearly up to 300 at the moment. And let's just shorten that interval just a little bit more. Yeah, so if he's shortened that down to a month, he's plus 49%. So I think this is 100% directly related to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say what we should do is look at the last 2 years.
Sorry, I was looking at the base card. I'm like, what? It's not a very expensive card at all. There we go.
So I think what we're seeing in the last 2 years, so he was up to 500.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went down all the way down to basically 150.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's coming back up again. So what I was going to say was, maybe let him settle back down again, after the playoffs are finished. Because maybe he's that type of guy that is a little bit volatile, going up and down depending on sort of his high-end performances. But even still, looking at that, he really came off the boil, didn't he?
Yeah.
Where there was a lot of hype around him at that sort of 500, but then he really fell off. So
I'm still surprised you could get him you could pick him up for less than 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think that if you're buying him for that sort of $150 to $200 mark, even up to $250, I think actually that's a very safe purchase. I can't imagine him going less than $150. That would be my gut feeling on this card.
Yep.
But I have to say, I really feel like this is the type of card that you would want to like before you purchase it. I don't think this is like a guaranteed flip. This is not like a Luke or an Anthony Edwards. This is sort of a bit of a tier down.
Yeah,
as much as we're frothing over this guy at the moment, I think.
Look, I think there's a big difference between his level of play and his hobby love. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, and he might be just one of those guys that is a little bit overlooked. Just really quickly.
Well, what about Indiana as a big market team? So we've got to think about that from a hobby perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just really quickly before we move on to the next series, Kenny Atkinson is also the coach of the year. So congratulations to Kenny. 100% deserves that.
Yep, no arguments here. That's there's nothing about that decision, that award that he's earned it. There were a few contenders there and everyone was deserving. So congrats to Kenny Atkinson.
Celtics Knicks is the next series we should talk about. Knicks are currently up 2-1. I don't know how much we should talk about this, but I found a couple of funny tweets on this. So I can't read this word for word because it's a little bit racially insensitive, but this is from @crackcobain __. My N-word Steve Kerr really saved the USA from Jason Tatum in the Olympics. Because remember that was that whole thing of Jason Tatum's not getting time, da 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 da. I think that was an amazingly timed tweet there. So that was well played, sir.
Very
Bridges
well
stat
played.
line. I love these type of stat lines where it actually tells you nothing but actually says everything. This is from the Dunk Central, not Dunk Centel. 51 minutes, elite defense. Give him his flowers, 100%. I think the Knicks paid an insanely high fee for Bridges. You actually can make the argument they paid more for Bridges than what the Lakers paid for Luka in terms of draft equity and actual players going across the table. But when he played the game that he did the other night, he that's why they brought him into that system for that.
This is literally this is the series they bought him in for.
Yeah.
It was to beat Boston, and that's what they're currently doing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think let's just really quickly look at Jason Tatum at the moment, because I think that we have been struggling with his value the last 12 months in that. So we've said two things about Tatum, that he's probably the most underrated person in the league. And the other thing that we've been using Tatum for is essentially a measuring stick for everybody else. So we're okay, if we call Tatum the measuring stick, are you above or are you below Tatum? And then we'll sort of, comp it out like that. And I actually feel for me, I felt very comfortable with this.
But it's funny. There was a blip.
A huge blip, yeah. So look, that could be a real sale or it could be a fake one. But at the same time too, it's not, it is pretty high, isn't it? It's basically up to nearly $1,200.
But that's a one-off sale in April. And then from then on, it's back to between 780 and 820. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's go to the last 6 months, because for me, this is probably the most telling part of this. He's basically flat. He's minus 0.39%.
Yep.
You know, I would be expecting here that Tyrese Halliburton type raise, you know, going into the
Ugh.
playoffs. You know, he's the leading guy, but really there's been so little buzz around the Celtics. And if anything, they're only down one game in the series.
All right. This is crazy.
Talk to me.
You go on the 2 weeks, growth
Yeah.
of plus 0.92.
Sure.
You go out to a month, -6%. Oh, wow. The needle's moving less than 10.
Yeah.
Right? Ready
He's
again?
very, very steady, isn't he?
3 months, plus 3%.
Correct, yeah.
6 months, minus 0.39.
Yeah.
Like
that's
you said.
the floor of a Tatum card, isn't it? The floor is basically 800.
12 months, plus 4.3.
Yeah.
If that's not just steady, and we're not saying that there's been no real explosions in the hobby. The market's been very stable, flat.
I think some cards have been stable. I think some cards have gone up a lot, but I would also probably say too, a lot of stuff is probably still going down, Ad.
Yeah, but I feel like I think the things that are going down to where they should be, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And this is what Jason Tatum is the level. Sure, there's a blip every now and then, and that's just that showed you that 1,200. That's someone probably paying overs because they can see it will eventually track up.
Yeah.
But that 12 months plus 4%, it's like a steady investment, really.
Very, very, very steady.
Yeah.
Really quickly before we go to a break, your favored green in the last 6 months is up 15%. That's actually trading at nearly $1,800, and the population on that's 196. So those
still
greens,
my favorite. That's still my favorite.
Yeah. So the population on that, I suspect, actually is going to be low forever. And the reason for that is those 17, 18 green prisms were all off-cut. So I don't think you need to be too scared about the population, 10xing on those at any time or fashion.
Yep.
Alrighty, let us go to a break. What ad should we do first today, Ad? How about Game Time International? I think last week
let's go with GTI first and foremost.
Thank you very much, Game Time International. We very much appreciate your support. You will find them on Instagram. You'll also find them at GameTimeInternational.com. There you will find the best magnetics in the hobby, a true collector's brand, better than just a normal mag. So with these ones, you've got the inner sleeve, which protects all the surfaces of the card, gives the corners even more protection and also the edges. Superior display, no impact on the card aesthetics, ultra clear plastics. And that was the reason why I was drawn to this product in the first place. No flaws, no sleeve wrinkling, no unwanted card movement, manufacturer relations, ensuring consistency and top tier quality, best in the hobby. Thank you so much to GTI or Game Time International. Adam, we're back. Let's get to the Western Conference playoffs.
We've done the East. East is done. Now
that's pretty good for us, to be honest.
And we can get stuck into the West.
Yeah.
You can choose this one.
Well, let's do Thunder and Nuggets, because the question I've got for you is, who is your surprise player from this series so far?
Aaron Gordon. That's all I got. Aaron Gordon. Without Aaron Gordon, the Nuggets aren't up 2-1.
Yeah.
Jokic is doing what Jokic normally does. Aaron Gordon has gone to another level. I
think he has been very, very consistent for them.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing for me that stood out was his 3-point shooting. He hit that really clutch shot at the end of the game of game 3.
Yeah.
And that's not something I really associate with him. Like, he can shoot threes, but I don't associate him with being like a knockdown clutch 3-point shooter. Like, if
more
that
like
was
a dunk contest guy than a 3-point guy. Yeah?
I more think of him as like a glue guy. He sort of, does a bit of rebounding and defending and just sort of like, fits in with the best player in the world, right? So for me, when he hit that shot, I was like, that was, insane. I was really loving that. I think my surprise of this series has been Jalen Williams, because I think if we're being honest about the Thunder roster, is that they really made a decision around Josh Giddey, and that probably it was going to be addition by subtraction with him. Is that I don't think they thought Josh Giddey was a bad player, but I think that they thought if they took him away, that would give SGA the ball in his hands more, and would also give more shots to people like Jalen Williams. And I think what's really played out this year is that he probably is a better scorer than Josh Giddey, and the ball is better off to be in SGA's hand than Josh Giddey. So I think in that sense, it was like a true win-win. And this is not me hating on Josh Giddey, by the way. Like, I'm just trying to play this out. But the thing that is really it's actually taken me back a little bit. And to be honest, I should have picked up on this already. Just the size of that kid. So they were talking about his wingspan on the broadcast that they're saying it's 7'2", 7'3".
Yeah,
That is insane. And I think that
true.
one thing I really like about the Thunder is how much they switch and they just play all over the place. And I'll put Chet in this conversation too. That kid is just go
Out of this,
gadget,
yeah.
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 And look, and he's skinny and he still is skinny, but his versatility around the court, it's just like having 3 or 4 guards out there just all playing this really fluid catch and shoot, pump
Yeah.
fake, drive to the basket. It's just such good basketball. And so
Yeah.
I'd actually like to talk to Andrew Bogut about this because he was saying the other day, every team plays the same. But it's hang on a minute.
It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
You contrast the offense between Denver and OKC. Those are incredibly different offenses. You contrast that to the Lakers, to the Cavs, to the Celtics.
You look at Golden State versus Minnesota.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I left Golden State on purpose just for the amount of 3-pointers they shoot. Because I think that was Bogut's point. It's every team showed so many. It's I think the Thunder offense is just really cleverly created and put together, honestly. What else have you got for this series, man?
This series, this could be, in me, this defines, this is going to either make or break the case for MVP, but surely it'll be announced. Do you think MVP will be announced after this series or while this series is happening?
MVP is normally at the end of round 2, so it can be sort of game 6 or 7. It depends on how the games play out.
Imagine if this goes to 7 and they announce the MVP before game 7.
Yeah, so I think my understanding though is that the playoffs shouldn't impact on the voting.
But it won't. The vote has been done.
It's done, isn't it? Yeah.
The award has been decided.
Yeah.
The point I'm going to make is the Nuggets take this. That's really Nikola Jokic going, what else do I need to do to prove that I'm the most valuable player in the league?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying with that. And I've got no dispute there. All right. So the obvious thing for us to do is to talk about SGA and Jokic in terms of the pricing. And we are going to do that. Everyone at home, don't worry. But I think we also need to mix it up a little bit. So this week we're going to talk about Aaron Gordon. I think in terms of hobby love, this guy is just grossly overlooked. And
grossly overlooked.
I think so. In terms of talent and in terms of resume, he's really quietly just building up a really nice resume. So
I wonder if his prices ever spiked when he won dunk contests.
I don't think so. I think he's the type of guy that no one cares about. Do you know what I mean? So look, are you going out to buy this as an investment? No, I don't think you are. Are you buying this because you collect NBA players? And okay, so for example, I do a Hall of Fame collection, which is a really fun one because you can pick up a lot of old school vets that no one cares about.
Yeah.
And it's well, why am I buying these? Okay, well, it's going into my Hall of Fame collection. That's kind of cool. So I think maybe you could speculate on that. He might be in the Hall of Fame one day. Look, I'm really trying to draw on strings here, trying to convince people to buy this guy. But look at this. So I found 2 comps. 14-15 rookie card. It's a sticker autograph from Prism, but it's this beautiful color match blue. Numbered to 349, that's sold for 27 USD. This is an Excalibur dual patch, and this is one of the ones where it had the ball in it. Again, sticker autograph, that sold for $54. I really like that card. Again, funnily enough, also numbered to 349.
Yep.
Look, I think that's frankly just delicious. I think that's a really nice little pickup. Do I think that's going to spike, or do I think you're going to lose all your money? No, I don't. I think that's going to be a very, very safe purchase. All right, now let's get to the big boys. SGA has absolutely just spiked this year insanely. I think every TikToker, Instagrammer, YouTuber is talking about this kid, so we don't need to go on about this very much. In the last 6 months, he's up 96%. So he started at 600. He's currently trading at 1,200. Just huge growth here.
And it is. You're right. It's over the last 6 months, and it seems to have. It's stabilizing.
Yeah. And for all those keeping track at home, I absolutely blew the call on this. I was kind of look, I don't see this. I'm not liking where this is going. And it just kept going up and up and up. So guys who did jump on, congratulations.
I'll say congrats. I'm still out on I think if they lose this series, there are question marks over this card. It goes back to Tatum. I
think it'll go down. Yeah, 100%. So I think there's a strong argument to be made that you should sell it now. I think the more interesting conversation, though, is what does his card look like in 5 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if he loses this year, but then he wins 2 chips in the next 5 years. And I think that's a really interesting conversation. Yeah. And I think if you make that call, and that's why you're buying into him now at $1,000, I think that's actually very reasonable.
Yeah.
I think you might be able to wait for a dip and then jump back into the market. Like, I don't think you need to rush into this, but if you sort of sit me down and explain that to me, I'll be like, look, I can't fault that. Like, that's actually like a really fun prediction. And, I hope it works out for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Jokic, again, let's just do this really quickly. Population on this is 185. His silver is currently trading at 3,700. Clearly a much, much stronger resume at this point in his life and also in terms of team success. Last 6 months, he's up 44%. The last 12 months, he's up 15%. The last 2 years, he's up 12%. So it's actually...
It's just a steady climb with Jokic.
Yeah, when you spread it out over that 2 years, that's actually, for me, a more interesting one, because I think I was kicking myself not that long ago that, I didn't jump on, which is, it's still true. I'm an idiot, but at the same time, it's not that bad, is it, Russ?
That's actually not that bad at all.
Yeah. He was up to 6,000 at one point.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Why don't we start the next series and then we'll sort of halfway through go for a break, because I don't think we'll get through the whole Warriors series before we finish off here.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll
do half. All right.
Yep.
Warriors, the Wolves are currently winning 2-1. The question I'm going to ask you is this. Currently, Steph Curry has an hamstring problem. I said hamstring problem. I meant to say hamstring. Do you think he will be back for this series?
I think this could be good. This unfortunately, this was set to be an epic one of those battles, and I think we're about to be disappointed. Because of the absence of Steph Curry. Now,
absolutely.
I don't know if it's an age thing or what, but I can't see his hamstring being right. But even if they get through this, it's like till the end of May. I don't see Steph Curry being someone they can rely on.
Yeah.
With that injury, like and I watch a lot of AFL, and the shortest turnaround for a hamstring is 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like hardwood, I don't. And that's heartbreaking because
definitely.
They died. Like what they did against the Rockets was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I really had them as constructed before the Steph injury. I had them as a sneaky chance to take it all.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we're going to be we're going to be denied an awesome series because of the injury.
Yeah. So I think it's an absolute nut punch for the guy because I heard an interview where he said, and he was really emotional. And I think he's not the type of guy to say something like that. So I think for him, he clearly had put in everything, that he had into this series, getting himself.
He knew what was happening. Yeah.
I also kind of feel like the Warriors got their shit together because there's always this kind of thing with Draymond where it's like he's living on the edge or he's living like one step over it. Yes, he's been out of control a little bit this playoffs, but for the most part, he's been very good. I think Jimmy Butler is actually a really good pickup for them. They've sorted out Kuminga. Like Kuminga coming off the bench is excellent. I think they've still got a little bit of problem like with their five, like who was their starting five. I think they actually haven't got that sorted out, but that hasn't been a death sentence for them either. And I feel like they've sort of been almost playing like, the center by committee almost ad.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, I think in terms of his legacy, this is probably not going to be anything too much. I think he's cemented himself in terms of
legacy wise, there's no. Yeah.
I think it would have been cool if he put one more chip to his name, though. Like being honest with you, and I think after this, like what's going to happen? This team's going to be a year older. Are they going to be a year better or a year worse? I probably think they're going to be
more
a year worse.
More consistency with Jimmy Butler, sure, but Steph's older.
He's a year older. Draymond's a year older. Steph's a year older. Like it's. Unless they add another player into the mix.
Definitely an option. Definitely. Look, they can retool in the off-season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think they would have to add, someone else significant because at this point, they're running on fumes. I think that's like really apparent to me. Why don't we go to a break and then we'll talk about the Wolves? How about that?
Yeah, I like that. Let's do that.
Alrighty, let's talk about the hobby hangout because
we have
had multiple announcements about this now. So I think we should definitely break this down a little bit more. The Hobby Hangout XL is in Melbourne.
It's in Melbourne. That's in our town.
That is our town. Sunday, the 1st of June, 10:30 a.m. If you'd like to get tickets, please go to the hobbyhangout.com.au.
Now, just to interrupt you there, this event is heading towards a sellout.
Interesting.
So, yeah, get your tickets if you haven't done so already. Yeah, jump online to the hobbyhangout.com.au and get those tickets, lock them in, because this is going to be huge.
So far they've had announcements of Goldens. Ken Golden is not confirmed, but actual Goldens is coming down. Andrew Bogut is doing a meet and greet / signing where you can bring all of your memorabilia in and cards to get him to sign. So that's a really cool one for Aussies. They've also announced just this week about CGC grading and also BGS grading. The discount is either 20 or 25% off, doing drop off on the day. So I think, people that don't want to pay those high prices for PSA and they're happy to go with a different grader, this is your time. So guys, if you're ever waiting for a deal to come up, this is the day to bring your cards in, do a bulk drop off, collect that nice little discount, and everyone's happy. So that's great. They've also got a stalls update. The Social Club Collectors, Hobby Lock Cases, DG Collectibles, Pokey Collective, Warriors Down Under, Bearded Fat Guy TCG. That is a male middle-aged name for a card shop if I've ever heard one. Card Traders Australia, the Trader Bros. One thing I forgot to comment on last week was that Matthew Uger is so good looking. He just has a picture of his face where other people have like a logo.
Or a shop. It's just Matt's card
Matthew
shop. It's
Uger,
just Matt.
And then like a picture of his face. Yeah. It's actually unreal, isn't it?
And next to that, Whatnot's coming.
Yeah, that's right. We probably should have mentioned that. And so last time we met the lads from Whatnot, they gave us their email address and then I lost it. So this year...
we might need to engage with them a little bit.
My resolution is to not lose their email address when I have a chat to them.
It's good.
Anyway, guys, get your tickets. There'll be activations. There will be stalls, trader zones, card game competitions. We will be there.
We will definitely be there.
In some capacity, but we will be there. And yeah, we hope to see you guys there. Adam, we're back and we're going to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. What do you want to talk about with the Wolves? What is pressing you in terms of the Wolves? Why do you think they're so successful at the moment?
I think they've got a lot of balance. I think they've got there's that balance of role players off the bench, the scoring off the bench, the defense.
Yeah.
And they're led by Anthony Edwards, who's really taken a step up. That man, there is no ceiling to that man's confidence.
Yeah.
And look, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. The Wolves will follow that man into the trenches, and their future success or failure may rest in his hands. But
yeah, I agree with you.
They will not die wondering what went wrong, because
he's the alpha dog of that team, 100%. Yeah,
yeah. But he's also got the dogs with him. Yeah. Julius Randle, hungry.
Yeah,
offensive rebounder. Gobert, an absolute monster on defense and on the boards.
Yeah,
like they just seem to they've put the right pieces together.
Yeah.
And I think the trade that they orchestrated.
You literally just took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I want to hear your take on this, because I've absolutely got a take here. Yeah.
When this trade happened, this is what I foresaw.
Yeah, right. Okay.
They got DiVincenzo as that extra
shooter.
That in the Lakers series, there were many, many expletives spoken because I think he's a dirty little XYZ.
Yeah, sure.
But he's that dog that will get in your face and get in your head. And he's not one of the number one guys. He's just one of the support cast, and he's perfect.
I don't think he's dirty, though, Ed. I think he just competes, and he competes very hard. Yeah.
I know. But Luka did get a very hard whack and fall on his back. I was not impressed with that play. I still think it should have been a flagrant. I'm not going to go on a segue where I get upset and disgruntled. Anyway, DiVincenzo was a good inclusion. Yeah. And the reason I think Minnesota won that trade.
Yeah, okay.
So Randall is a good piece to put on, as a starter piece.
Yeah.
I like Randall for Cat in the I think he fits better in this system than Cat did.
Yeah.
And I think DiVincenzo's the bonus piece off the bench. And that's sort of coming to coming to fruition now because Julius
Yeah.
Randle seems to have fit in. It's taken the season to get there, but I feel like they've ticked a lot of boxes, and it might be a lack of experience in Edwards' leadership. It could be other factors, but I think Minnesota have put themselves in the best possible position they can to succeed.
Yeah. I think for me about this trade was I didn't know if it was going to work out. And whereas now I think the Wolves have done really well. I think that Randall fits.
Yeah.
And actually, I quite like Cat in New York. And so
win-win. Yeah.
Yeah. Genuinely, like, there are some trades where it is a win-win. And I really like this for that instance. And I think that the part of the game I don't like about Randall is how he can just hang on to the ball for like 16 seconds and literally pound the ball.
Yeah, he's done
into
that
the
since
court.
he was in LA.
But
it's literally what he does.
I feel like he is not doing that as much in Minnesota. And that sort of small, well, actually, it's quite a large adjustment when you say that if you've been doing that for the last 20 years.
He is a team guy, yeah.
I feel like he's really cut that down a lot to the point that now he just sort of blends in and he moves the ball a bit better, and he's still, he's still dribbling, but now he's like just doing things a little bit quicker. So I really like that about his game now. In fact, I would say I didn't like his game before, whereas this sort of version in Minnesota, I quite like it. Look, Fair. The DiVincenzo part, to be honest, I can sort of take or leave that with DiVincenzo, but I think in terms of today's game with 3-point shooting, you need shooters out in the court, so that's fine for me. I think the part for me that I think is most intriguing about the Wolves is I think their offense is sustainable, and I think it's in the regular season, you can't, okay, fine, you can score 110, 120. Can you do that in the playoffs? And that's one thing they've actually shown, quite comprehensively, when they're on, that, they're really good.
Yeah,
and I think, like, being pragmatic about this, I kind of feel as though they've got a little bit of an advantage at the moment, because I think for this rest of the Warriors series, it's going to be a tough series, but I don't think it's going to be as tough as the Denver OKC series. So what I think is going to happen is Nuggets and Thunder are going to beat the crap out of each other. Yeah. And then the Wolves are going to be sitting at home for 2 or 3 days, like resting up and getting a few little injuries like under control. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, like moving forward, like looking to the next series, like I'm really liking Minnesota's chances at the moment. And I kind of think they match up pretty well with OKC, and I think they match up really well with Denver.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, as I said, I think they're the most balanced team at the moment as far as role playing and being able to move their pieces into different formations. Yeah.
So yeah, look, kind of exciting. So I think let's leave that there. Anything else you want to talk about on that series, or are we good?
Yeah, I think we're good. I hope this isn't the last we've seen of Steph. Like the
high
best
level
of
Steph Curry. Yeah, I agree with you.
I hope he doesn't start weltering away after this.
Really quickly, this is actually going back to the previous series, the Rockets and Warriors series. This is from Kevin O'Connor. The Rockets are plus 53 with Steven Adams on the floor this series and minus 39 without him. So that's just like a completely useless random piece of information, but I felt like
I mean, with
it belongs on
he's actually a unrestricted free agent in the off season.
Yeah,
and I think he might land himself a bag.
Yeah, I don't know about a bag, but he'll be employed again next year. I think that's absolutely for sure.
Given what he's done this year for Houston, I think he'll be on the Lakers' radar, because I for one know that the Lakers need a center. Yeah. One of 3 people, I'd say Capella and Lopez are also on the Lakers' radar, but I think Adams is also someone that runs in good pick and roll stuff. So
yeah, he's a big boy. This next one is from Instagram at Boston Card Hunter. If you do not follow this guy, I would absolutely give him a follow, give him a couple of likes on his page. I feel like if you had to summarize his content into one sentence, what he likes to do is like just call out the bullshit in the hobby. So he'll take people's videos and he'll break them down and say, look, this is what I actually think is going on here. It's not so much that he highlights people's scams, but he just sort of tries to explain to you, this is what this person's trying to do, and maybe like mislead you, or maybe they're trying to say this. And so in this particular video that we're going to bring up now, he's talking about the growth of the hobby. And so he stated that in 9 quarters, we've had constant growth. Yeah. And when he means quarters in terms of like quarters of the year. So this is like more like a finance sort of term that you use, but he's like applying it to cards. PSA have sold 500,000 cards on their platform, which is absolutely huge. the cost dollar has gone up, but so has the number of cards. And I think that's really interesting because I think that a lot of negativity, let me rephrase this. I think that the posts that garner attention in the hobby is often posts that focus on negativity.
The
And
clickbait, I guess you'd call it.
Correct, right? And so when you read this sort of stuff, you like it's almost like, is there a conspiracy happening here? But it's like, it's not. It's just that the stuff that comes into your feed more regularly is often that really negative stuff that just seems to sort of get people's juices flowing. And so the Golden's platform has also had growth. And I think the thing that he didn't say specifically in here, but what I would like to remind all of our listeners, Golden's bought eBay. And so not only has the Golden platform had growth, eBay is the biggest platform in the world when it comes to card sales. And so, I think that's a really interesting piece to sort of, keep in mind for everybody. And I think when I heard him talk about this, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm going to turn this over to you in 2 seconds, but I felt surprised, but I also felt very reassured because if you think about like product at the moment, it's probably not the greatest. If you go and look through like the rookie signing checklist of who is signing for Panini and who isn't, there's more nots than is's. And so
that's a good point.
That's a tough market for me. And so despite all of that, there's huge sales going on in terms of volume, but also, true dollar value.
Yeah.
And so obviously not all the cards are just like rookie cards being sold, but like I think a large proportion of those cards would be. But then it also takes me back to what is collectibles. And then, last week we were talking about different case hits that's out there. We did like this, maybe that was 2 weeks ago now, where we did the Steph Curry one. But I think that is translatable to actually, what is happening, within the hobby. And so
correct.
Yeah. Like, where are you at with this? Because I think this is worth talking about for, a couple of seconds.
I think it's easy to create negative press.
Yeah.
To stir up fear in other people.
Yeah.
And those kind of emotions get people to act impulsively, right? It's annoying that
by act impulsively, do you mean like reply to the video?
Yeah, like it elicits these reactions. People want to watch these videos. They panic. They're like, "Oh no, I have to sell my cards."
Yeah, that's why there's 500,000 sales, because like Dan the Card Man has been razzing everyone. Is that what you're saying?
But that's it. People's trying to induce panic in a market like this. Oh no, the hobby's dying. I better get rid of my stuff.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it's not dying. I sold that easily. Oh.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to card shows. Like, it's easy to just listen to what's going on social media. It's easy to take hearsay and go, oh, this is the state of things.
Then actually collect objective facts and then make your own interpretation of that. Yeah.
Go to your local store. Go to a trade show. Go online and interact with some of these people online.
Yeah.
In the Facebook groups.
Online's tricky though, man, because like again, this like scamming posts like light up my feed, right?
Fair. Yeah. But go out there and have a look.
Yeah.
Don't listen to what other people are saying about the hobby.
Yeah. Don't listen to Jeff Wilson 24 hours a day. Yeah.
Don't let the hype train or the fear mongering to get you to make a reactive decision.
Yeah.
Rather than an educated decision. I think the hobby's fine. Yep, as I said with the Tatum thing before, I think we're in a plateau. But there's also a lot of positive happening. There's people interacting. It's great.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Oh, the hobby's killing it.
The hobby 100%. Is strong at the moment. Yeah, you can't go in, buy a $10 repack and strike it rich. But when could you? Realistically.
Yeah. I think there was probably a bit more value in sealed, maybe back in like 16, 17, 17, 18. I think.
Yeah, but then you go through COVID and the everybody loses their mind phase.
Yeah, that wasn't fantastic.
Gone are the days when it was $20 to get a card graded by PSA, comes back a PSA 10, and the $200 you've spent on buying a card and getting it graded becomes $1,000.
Yeah.
These days, it's a grind. I'd actually be interested to know anybody in financial circles, like investment circles, that we talk about steady growth. And I joked about Tatum being up 4% over 12 months.
Yeah.
Like, good solid investment would be 5 to 8% return. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Over a year. But we've got a lot of these people that are like, if I can't flip a card and make 25% on it, the hobby's dying. No, it's not. The hobby's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think we should go to a break.
Yeah, so I can calm down, have a drink.
No, I don't need to calm down. You should fire up for the last segment, to be honest.
I might. You never know.
Just warm up, mate. Thank you very much. FastBreakTradingCards.com. Go there for all of your hobby needs. Just a quick shout out to the lads. They have re-upped for another 10 episodes or 11 episodes of sponsorship.
It's great having them on board. Yeah. Huge thanks.
I'm excited. Obviously, they're happy with the arrangement, how it's all going so far. So this is very exciting for us.
We need to get them on the show. That's what we need. We need these boys.
We need more public pressure to get them on. The lads have said they will come on, but it's just a matter of getting a time together.
Yeah, well, actions speak louder than words.
Oh, geez, Adam, calm down, mate.
Told you I was fired up.
You are fired up. Yeah, look, they've had their 1 year anniversary recently. They had a fantastic party and trade day. I love those like trade days at hobby shops. Honestly, I think they're just an absolute win. They've also been announced as a direct partner of Collect Fest. So, guys, that is just absolutely huge. It's going to put you on the map even more. Like, we're just very proud of you. Looking through the website, I'm going to talk about sealed product this week in terms of sales. I'm going to specifically talk about 24-25 Prism retail, because we did that highlight of a show of a card recently with the manga cards. They're actually retail exclusive. So retail box for 240, a blaster for 70. This is all AUD prices, by the way. Prism mega box. It's got the green ice prisms in that. That's for 150. Look, it's not like the old days where you could, pick up a box for much cheaper, but at the same time, I think Prism have done a really good job of making the chase there on this product. Prism Fast Break for 650. Prism Choice for 695. That's so funny. Like, Choice used to be like $1,000.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really come right down. Choice has. Choice is where you find the nebulas, though. So if you want to go that one-of-one hunting, that's where you need to go to. Thank you so much, lads, at Fast Break Trading Cards. Alrighty, Ad, we are back. This is the last quarter of this week's show, and this is all just bits and bobs, so we'll just sort of whip through this.
All right.
I'm going to start you off with a Instagram video where it's Steve Nash interviewing LeBron James.
God, I know this interview.
And the question he asks is, what supplements are you taking? And the look on his face is, I would call it wide-eyed. And I have a 4-year-old son, and whenever he doesn't tell me the truth, his eyes kind of go about as wide as LeBron's went. So I'm just going to leave it at that. He also denied taking creatine.
Okay, which is, yeah.
He just said, his answer was he takes everyday, normal, natural things like vitamins. That was his answer. I am going to die on this mountain. I am absolutely convinced he's taking HGH. Yeah, which they don't test for in the NBA.
Okay, yeah.
I am convinced that the day he retires, they'll start testing for HGH.
Interesting.
It's interesting to me that he even denies taking just like regular supplements. Like, why? Like, this is the man who said a while ago he spends $1 million a year on his body on supplements.
So, but is it on supplements, or is it on treatments? Is it on
that's what he said.
Is it look, if you spend $1 million on your body maintenance, do you really think he's dipping into the steroid side of things, or he's looking at other treatments? Do you know what I mean? Like, is he got physio, like a team of physios? I don't know. I'm going to be the glass half guy. Of course, I'm the Lakers homer, right? I'm gonna die on that hill.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna say no. This man has too much integrity to do all those other things, and I think his body is a temple.
Look, I don't think you can get to that point without your body being a temple. And believe me, I'm not saying that he does. Like, I'm not saying he just juices and eats macas. Like, clearly, that's not what I think.
No. I don't think he's helping himself with extra things that aren't legal in the sport.
That is the most unconvincing answer I've seen in a very long time.
Is that as bad as LeBron answering the question on the interview? I don't. I think he's invested a lot of money.
Yeah, he has.
Not into performance-enhancing substances. I think he does everything within the regulations of the sport.
All right, here we go. This is in the comments. He's talking too much. He's lying. Born eyes get big when he lie. He's effing lying. As soon as he said things of that nature...
On this podcast, he's drinking wine. He could
immediately knew it was BS.
Buzzed.
Peptides, yes. Growth hormone, yes. Stem cell therapy,
God.
yes. TRT, yes. Steroids, no.
God.
Things of that nature. Creatine is natural.
Oh, goodness.
LeBron doesn't believe LeBron. The man's piss could melt steel.
God. Stacks on the 40-year-old. Jeez, leave him alone.
He deserves that, mate.
Steve Nash is in his 50s now. Leave him alone.
I've had my fun. All right, this one's for you, buddy. This is from Card Ladder 2019 Panini Crown Royale Kobe Kaboom. This is an insane card. This is him celebrating
this card.
after hitting a game winner. Now, this is up crazy. So if you are hoping to get onto the Kobe Kaboom train, it's possible that train has left the station.
Has sailed.
Last sold for 19,000, nearly 20K. That is up dramatically. The previous sale before that was 12, maybe 13K.
Makes me sad.
Congratulations to the Kobe owners. We have another Kobe here.
It is, and this is a 98, isn't it?
1998 Ultra. Him doing that very Kobe-esque reverse jam with his feet up near his bum. This has exponentially gone up. And this hasn't sold for a long time, though. This sold last in 2019, nearly 2020.
Yeah.
So that went from 2000 all the way up to 11. So the reason why I put this card in, because this is giving me like Jordan vibes right now of just like random cards.
We
just,
spoke about this a little while ago with, will this start happening with Kobe?
Yeah.
Is it possible it could happen with Shaq or someone else?
Yeah.
But I think it's the big three. It's Kobe, LeBron, and Jordan.
I do wonder, though, if, to me, the more logical one to go off next is Kobe. Because...
yeah, in order.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say was, like, I wonder also part of this, too, is, like, the scarcity of it. Because since he's passing, he hasn't been in any more card sets.
True.
I don't imagine that he's estate...
What's the rule with that? Sorry to sound naive, but they're not allowed to print a player once they're passed?
My understanding is that it's the players who are currently under the CBA agreement with the NBA. So now that he's no longer in the league, they can't put his images in there without his like direct consent. So for example...
given that he's passed away, he's...
Yeah, so for example, like Tim Duncan. So he's had an agreement to come into the current sets. Yeah. And then they like remunerate him individually.
Do they? God, I mean, obviously we don't know about it, but they can't reach out to Vanessa Bryant and say, "Can we put him in a card set?"
They can, but my feeling is that she's not interested in doing that type of stuff. I think
she's like, "I've got shoes, I'm good."
Yeah, I think it's more like she wants to preserve more of the Jordan legacy, where it's like if you associate yourself with less things, actually your value increases more, and so
fair.
I don't see.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see this being like a future endeavor. Yeah.
You wait for Tops to get the deal.
Alrighty, let's talk about the Bucks' future because I think this is a very interesting tweet. This is from...
That'll be a quick topic, won't it?
I don't know. I could do at least 2 minutes on this. At 6 rings of steel, but the L is not an L. It's a capital I. Whatever you think about the Bucks' future, it may be worse. Dame is 34 and may not play until 2027. They don't own their first in this draft. Least favorable first-round swaps in 26, 28, and 30. They do not own their 27 or their 29 pick. They don't own their first-round pick until 2031. Brooks, Bobby Portis, GTJ, Prince, Kevin Porter Jr., Rollins are all free agents. So that's actually a really interesting one because I could imagine 2 of those guys being snuffed away.
Yeah.
And actually, Kevin Porter Jr. is an interesting one because I think he redeemed himself this year.
Sure.
Because if you think about him 12 months ago, he wasn't even in the league.
Yeah,
Whereas now he was playing on a playoff roster, right?
Yep.
Who wants Kyle Kuzma right now? That guy is untradeable. I would say he is as untradeable as Bradley Beal. His playoff performance was absolutely appalling. Yeah. Their young core, in air quotations...
Wouldn't
Tyler
call it a core.
Smith, Chris Livingston, and Andre Jackson. That is bad.
There's an Apple cores are probably stronger than that anyway.
Yeah, I have no idea what they do in this offseason. Yeah, look, I think that's actually
curl up in a ball and cry, I think.
That's a very insightful tweet, and I think that actually says a lot about the future of the Bucks. And so,
do you think there are some franchises though that are headed that way because they went all in?
Oh, 100%.
Because it's funny
the
that
Phoenix
it's
Suns
the Bucks,
did it
right?
this year, and
the Phoenix Suns faced off when the Bucks won their championship, right? So these are teams that keep going all in, trying to get to the top, and I'm sorry to say it, but they've failed getting to the top of the mountain, and they've sacrificed their future for a shot at glory, and it didn't pay off. Well, it paid off for the Bucks for one season,
and the other one that went all in too was the Knicks, but they've had more team success than the Suns, and also the Bucks have had.
They're in a series. They're in a live series still.
Yeah, that's right. And so you can let that ride. Yeah.
For now, do you want to keep going on it and talk about Bradley Beal? Or
I was going to say, let's do Devin Booker. So the Suns will offer Booker a 2-year. You ready for this? $149.8 million extension this year. Look, I'm not a maths wizard, but if I round that up to 150,
that's about 75 mil.
$75 million a year for Devin Booker. That does not win you a championship.
No, but the caps are going up differently, aren't they?
I just think if you pay him $75 million a year, you are deemed to be the Bucks. You are going to be
you're going to
the
be
Phoenix
worse
Suns.
Than the Bucks. You're going to be worse.
Yeah.
You're the Suns, but you're just in a worse spot.
Yeah, you're going to be an older version of the Washington Wizards 2 years ago. Which, by the way, actually, if you look at the Wizards roster now, that's actually kind of interesting.
They're headed in a better direction. Than,
getting rid of Bradley Beal and picking up draft equity was absolutely delicious.
For sure.
All right, let's do 2 more really quickly.
Yeah,
we'll do Aja Wilson next, and then we'll finish the show on a Jordan Thrill Seekers because I think that's actually worth talking about.
Okay.
Alrighty, this is an example of an old basketball card, 2018 on-card autograph. But this is someone who's actually loves and respects the game and has taken the time to sign an amazing autograph on this. It's got a name, it's got her number, and she's written Go Vegas on it. I love this a lot. She's been the MVP of the WNBA. This is an absolutely huge card. Massive. And I think that, for me, this is the type of stuff where you could probably still pick this up not that expensive, but if you had bought this 3 or 4 years ago before all this other stuff with Caitlin Clark had been going on, you probably could have got that for less than $50. I would be, saying on that one.
Nuts, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway,
it's awesome.
Beautiful card. Congratulations to the owner. And the end of today's show, Adam, is going to be with this one here. 1996 Fleer Michael Jordan Thrill Seekers. Population on this is just 18. And I think this is actually a good time to contrast this to the Kobe that we just spoke about. So the Kobe was numbered to 99, so it's a different card.
Yeah.
But the population on that was actually 5. So let's just say,
wow.
Let's say the pop on this stays relatively stable at 18 on the Jordan. And the Kobe stays, even if the Kobe doubles to 10.
Yeah.
So the Kobe sold for 11,000, the Jordan just sold for 28. It's really interesting to me that we can actually say, oh yeah, the Kobe just sold for this much, but it's still got a lot more room to grow. Because even if it doubles, it's still cheaper than this Jordan. Maybe the thing that's holding back that Kobe is that it's in BGS and it's a BGS 9. Like maybe it would be double the value, if not more than that, if it was a PSA 10.
Yeah, agreed.
Maybe that's the strategy of the purchaser too. They're going to crack it out and send it off to old mate PSA.
Yeah, agreed. It's crazy seeing those spikes.
Where are you at with all these? Because we've been doing this a little bit lately. We've been talking about these Jordan cards that just keep spiking. Where are you at with all this? Like, what's your sort of high up umbrella view of?
I'm just like, but it is the GOAT conversation's never going anywhere other than. I mean, it doesn't matter if the GOAT view as people get older changes to LeBron. Jordan is Jordan. Like he's got his place. He's on Mount Rushmore. No one's unchiseling that face from Mount Rushmore.
Do you think that the narrative will change to LeBron as the GOAT though? No, nope. I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think they'll always I think LeBron's on the I think there's the only other face, and I think it's Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. And I think they're making space for Steph.
Yeah.
That's the hill I'm dying on at the moment.
Okay.
For now, as far as the greatest the game's ever seen. And yeah, there are players from before that era that I'm not mentioning, but I feel like Michael Jordan is the one that brought basketball into the mainstream. Kobe helped sustain it, and Steph revolutionized it. And LeBron has been one of the greatest through that time period. So how can you discount those guys? Like you've got Wilt, you've got Magic, you've got Bill Russell. Sure, and then they have their place in the hobby, but this is the face of basketball, Michael
Yeah, sure.
Jordan.
It's another tier, isn't it? Up
Yeah.
again. Look, I think, when I'm prepping for the show,
Mm.
I've really enjoyed putting these cards in because I think sometimes and I'm saying this is the royal we're so focused on modern and the ultra modern.
Yeah.
And because Jordan does have new cards coming out of, whatever the upper deck is putting him into, the precious metal stuff or whatever. But I think that stuff is so bad that, real Jordan collectors actually go back and look at all this 90s, late 80s, early 2000s stuff because the designs are cool. The populations are still relatively low. And then I think, you have to be honest about this too. I think there is that sort of investment profile there where it is going up and you are having these spikes. And so there's that part of it for me. But the other part for me too is that I feel like this is a real sort of educational journey of just going back and learning about all these other different types of, inserts that are out there. And so, we tried to do this a little bit of, what cards, should you be looking into purchasing, before the spike comes through.
Yeah.
And maybe we should be doing that more often and saying, what are some like fun cards that are out there that are just an absolute, diamond in the rough at the moment. So, but look,
yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Adam, for a fantastic show. Thank you to all of our listeners out there. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Wonderful week.
Well, yeah. Wonderful month then.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed listening.
Wonderful year.
Yeah. I hope you're all just wonderful.
And we'll catch you next week.
We'll see you next time. Ciao.